Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Breaking news, shots fired near Triangle Town Center in Raleigh, leaving behind damage at two businesses. What we know about the effort to find the shooter.
And it's been a chilly start out there this morning. Up near the Virginia line, temperatures are close to freezing. You can see a little patchy frost there, but I'll show you why it could be more widespread tomorrow morning.
And remarkable recovery. A high school football team returning to the field tonight after one of its players went into cardiac arrest last week. How he is staying near football as he works his way back to full health. A beautiful story we have for you coming up in this 8 o'clock hour. Thank you for joining us. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
And I'm Renee Chu. Beautiful sunshine, beautiful sunrise. What a way to start our Friday. We're just riding this great weather week. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRO Severe Weather Center with where our morning temperatures are.
Right now it's 34 in Roxborough, so very close to freezing there. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some frost, especially in Pershing County or really any of the counties that border Virginia. But once we get a layer down, say all the way down to Durham, Rocky Mount, and southward, temperatures are mostly in the low to mid 40s right now. We have some beautiful sunshine in Durham as that sun's starting to rise over downtown. 42 is the temperature, and the dew point is a very dry 38. With the dry conditions, we still have increased fire danger, so you're encouraged not to do any burning this afternoon. By lunchtime, it's 63, and we'll climb to 68 this afternoon, which is not too far from normal. It's nice and dry today, just a little bit breezy, but not as windy as yesterday. We take a quick look at Melissa. Unfortunately, it is still likely to become a Category 3 storm by the time we get to the end of the week, and then early next week swinging toward Cuba. So Cuba, Jamaica, and Haiti all in line for what could be catastrophic damage. We'll talk more about that coming up. Grant?
Yeah, still watching this crash. This is going to be of I-40 headed westbound this morning. This is going to be north of Chapel Hill. This is probably the most impactful crash that we're watching this morning because it's causing some major delays headed westbound on I-40 this morning. Again, just north of Chapel Hill. And if you're headed westbound on I-40, that's going to be headed towards Greensboro this morning. So if you're headed from Durham or Chapel Hill towards Greensboro this morning, you're going to see those delays on I-40. Looks like the shoulder is blocked off there near North Carolina Highway 86 this morning. So keep that in mind for your commute if you're headed towards Greensboro. If you're headed eastbound towards Chapel Hill or Durham, we're not seeing any major delays. Also into Raleigh this morning, not seeing any major delays. Just a 4-minute delay headed southbound on Highway 1 from Wake Forest this morning. Headed south on 87 from Knightdale. Not seeing any delays there this morning, so that's a good sign. We typically do have delays on 87. And then on I-40, headed east or westbound towards Raleigh this morning. Not seeing any delays. You can tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Thanks, Grant. Breaking news, at least 2 North Raleigh businesses were hit by gunfire overnight. This happened near Triangle Town Center. Allie Calabar is live at the scene in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. And Allie, you've spoken with an employee about what happened.
Yeah, that employee says that she closed up the store about an hour before all of this happened, this mess happened. You can see that mess now that the sun has come up. A window shattered, that door shattered, and you can even see that bullet hole in that Apple display. This is video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker showing you a closer look of all the damage. Even another business was hit by gunfire. That's Mariner Finance. There were bullet holes inside and outside of the business. Raleigh police say that they responded to a shots fired call around 11:30 last night. No injuries were reported and no arrests were made at the time, but we did hear from Broadcastify radio traffic that officers saw somebody leaving the scene. Listen to this.
I have shots fired at Triangle Town. I have found the suspect in Navy Federal. I have one looks to be wounded running away. Don't have eyes on anymore.
We're working to confirm this information. We have reached out to Raleigh police, but now businesses have a mess to deal with this morning. We're working to find out who's responsible. Reporting live in Raleigh, Allie Calabar, WRAL News.
Wake County deputies identified the suspect in a chase that briefly shut down the I-40 ramp yesterday at Lake Wheeler Road. The sheriff's office says Jaquan Page is facing multiple charges, including fleeing and eluding arrest. Sky 5 was flying over that scene yesterday afternoon on Lake Wheeler Road. A witness told WRAL they saw law enforcement chasing the suspect's car as it came speeding off the interstate. The car then hit a work vehicle on the shoulder. A man was seen being loaded into an ambulance after that crash. He was later identified as Page. The sheriff's office says Page was speeding on I-40 near Gorman Street. He did not pull over when deputies tried to stop him. And a mother is charged in a crash that killed her 3-year-old son. It happened last week on Audrey Mill Road in Sampson County. Court documents show 33-year-old Brittany Simmons has a misdemeanor death by vehicle charge. Highway Patrol says she ran off the road and overcorrected. That caused the car to flip several times. Her 2 other children were also hurt in that crash. Troopers say Simmons was the only one wearing a seatbelt.
Wake Preparatory Academy will be back in person today with beefed up security. Students moved to remote learning yesterday because of a police investigation. The charter school did not elaborate, but said law enforcement is involved in the situation. The school will have more officers on campus today. However, they say there is no known threat to students or staff.
Happening today, Cleveland High School playing its first football game tonight since one of its players collapsed on the field. Last week, wide receiver Christian Clark went into cardiac arrest after making a catch. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey live at Cleveland High School this morning. And Kelsey, Christian already back in the classroom, which is some great news.
Yes, Michelle, great news on a Friday. It's a win-win tonight. Cleveland High School football players will be back on the field after that scary moment last week. We got an update from Christian Clark's family. They say he was able to go back to class yesterday, and he was supporting his teammates from the sidelines last night at practice. We'll show you some video now from the game last week against Southeast Raleigh, where Christian went into cardiac arrest on the field. Coaches and trainers leaped into action performing CPR. His parents left the stands and rushed to the field. Christian's father, Chris, performed chest compressions. They were eventually able to use a defibrillator to restore his son's heartbeat.
We almost lost our son, and so we just couldn't thank God and thank people that worked with him enough.
A remarkable recovery. Chris says that Christian did get a cardiac MRI yesterday. And coming up on WRAL tonight, our health reporter Grace Haba speaks with a doctor to explain how hard hits can cause heart attacks that are more common in kids. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Johnston County.
We'll have more coverage of Christian's recovery after what happened on the field. You can catch that in our evening newscast starting at 4.
Good times 8:07 here in the WRAL Live Center. Good morning. I'm Chris Lovingood with this breaking news. We have senators, including Tammy Duckworth from Illinois, that are calling on Education Secretary Linda McMahon to ask the Homeland Security to stop carrying out immigration enforcement near schools, particularly in Chicago. Duckworth says that this is happening and that the the immigration agents are carrying out, quote, unwarranted and excessive immigration efforts there. And she also mentions that if society can agree that alcohol should be kept 1,000 feet away from schools, maybe tear gas should as well. In terms of how the Education Department is responding, we'll look for reaction today on WRAL News.
Chris, thank you. Congressman Don Davis is responding on camera after the state legislature approved a new congressional map this week, one that specifically targets his district. Davis is a Democrat. He currently represents District 1 in the northeastern part of our state. The new map is drawing him out of District 1 and putting him in District 3, giving Republicans an advantage in next year's midterms. We asked Congressman Davis if he plans to run again given this change. He wouldn't confirm, but he indicated he's preparing for a run. He did express frustration when he learned of the plan to redraw the map, and he's calling for an end to redistricting altogether.
We need a national ban on mid-decade redistricting. It doesn't matter, Texas, California, Missouri, Kansas. We just need to pull together and support an end to this. This is not good for anybody. It's not good for Democrats. It's not good for Republicans.
Davis went on to say he won't stop fighting for the people of eastern North Carolina, no matter what map is drawn. The North Carolina Republican Party this week praised state lawmakers for doing their part to protect the GOP majority.
A live look at Capitol Hill this morning as the federal government enters day 24 of the shutdown. And it looks like it will continue into the weekend as the Senate is not expected to be in session today. This week, federal workers will be missing their first full paycheck since the shutdown started. Yesterday, Senate Democrats blocked a bill that would pay essential workers. The bill did not include furloughed workers. Some Democrats have called for all federal workers to be paid during the shutdown. And we'll get a better idea of what you are paying for food and other necessities today. That's because the latest consumer price index is releasing. It was supposed to come out 9 days ago, but the shutdown delayed it. This report will give us a look at inflation numbers from September, but the shutdown has prevented data collection for October.
Just hours away from the start of the final weekend of the North Carolina State Fair. Gates open at 9 a.m. as you look live. The fair runs through Sunday. And if you're going tonight or tomorrow night, be aware of heavy traffic. There will be concerts happening nearby at the Lenovo Center.
Well, the artist who's performing tonight was spotted at the fair last night. Rapper NBA Youngboy was there. Video on Instagram shows him having some fun with his family. And today, members of the WRAL family will be there. Elizabeth Gardner and Carly Haynes will be there from 10:30 to 11:30 this morning. And then Amy Wilmoth and Mike Mays will be there from 2 to 3 this afternoon.
Charges after a chase. The suspect in a police pursuit in Wake County is still in the hospital. Police describe the moments leading to his arrest.
And fire dangers, how dry and windy conditions nearly turn things from bad to worse near a local busy highway. Elizabeth.
And it's going to be a nice afternoon with lots of sunshine. We climb into the upper 60s, but then our temperatures will likely dip into the 30s overnight tonight. I'll show you where we could see some patchy frost. 8:14, a beautiful look in Boone right now. A gorgeous sunrise happening there. We're looking at some gorgeous leaves in the mountains again this weekend, but once we get past this weekend, it's really going to be fairly low elevation. So if you're planning to head to the mountains and you haven't done it yet, this is going to be your last best weekend. Boone for tomorrow, 57, Asheville 65, so it'll be nice and chilly. All the leaves at the highest elevation, say around Grandfather Mountain or Mount Mitchell, are already off the trees. 55 in Boone on Sunday, and 62 in Asheville. There'll be some cloud cover Sunday, but it should stay dry up until around sunset. Carolina Beach looking lovely this morning too, with plenty of sunshine, low rip current danger. Of course, it's getting chilly to be in the water. Tomorrow, high temperatures up and down the coast will be in the low 60s in the north and upper 60s down south. Same thing again on Sunday. For us, we'll see a cool but nice dry weekend. I'll show you the temperatures, especially for tomorrow morning coming up. Grant?
Yeah, watching I-40 on the south side of town this morning, close to Lake Wheeler Road. We have a crash there, so you can see headed westbound. There are some delays there this morning. I'll show you our camera there from Lake Wheeler Road. You can see headed westbound. There are some more delays there, especially compared to the eastbound lanes. You can see those slowdowns headed westbound. So keep that in mind this morning. You're going to have some delays headed westbound on I-40 this morning on the south side of Raleigh due to this crash. You can tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
All right, thank you, Grant. Dry conditions across our area have officials on alert this week, and new video shows how close smoke came to homes near 540 last weekend. Investigators say it was from a series of fires intentionally set along the busy highway. The North Carolina Forest Service says the flames were so intense that crews flew a plane overhead for aerial support.
Very rare. That happens a lot in the mountains. It happens a lot in eastern North Carolina, rural areas, but when you're calling a scout plane for a wildfire in Raleigh off of 540, you know it's dry, and that's something that we don't see often.
The Wake County Sheriff's Office is investigating. Dry, gusty conditions have prompted local officials to pause outdoor burning. Several fire departments have battled small brush fires in the past week. The man accused of leading authorities on a high-speed chase through Knightdale could be facing new charges. Sky 5 captured this video that you will only see on WRAL of the high-speed chase, a crash, and the moment the driver jumped from his SUV and ran into 101 Kitchen. Anthony Mingo was taken out of the restaurant on a stretcher and is in the hospital in critical condition. According to a police report, Mingo tried to take his own life.
And that won't happen until he is, medically able to receive those charges and understand those charges. At this point, he hasn't been charged. Obviously we know what he's going to be charged with, but we just got to wait until he's in a proper condition in order to be able to do that.
Knightdale police said they expect to bring reckless driving and hit and run charges against him.
Carrboro police have reported a rise in stolen bicycles and e-bikes. They didn't say how many have been stolen recently. Police are asking people to register their bikes through the town's website. And if you have your bike serial number, it's more likely to be recovered.
Well, crews are getting closer to finishing cleanup after 10 homes fell into the ocean on the Outer Banks. Work has been underway to clean up the big mess since the start of this month. And because of the large amount of debris, Dare County brought in a contractor to take the debris away. County officials expect the contractors to finish this week.
A blowout last night in Los Angeles. The Minnesota Vikings took on the Chargers on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Los Angeles took the lead early on in the game and ran away with it. Quarterback Justin Herbert threw 3 touchdown passes for the 37-10 win. The Vikings struggled to put up big offense numbers. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy is expected to return from injury next week against the Lions.
And a couple more football matchups to look out for this weekend. The Carolina Panthers are looking for a 4th straight victory. They'll return home to take on the Buffalo Bills. That game starts at 1 o'clock on Sunday on Fox 50. And Aaron Rodgers squares off against his old team on Sunday night. The Pittsburgh Steelers will host the Green Bay Packers. That game starts at 8:15 on WRAL.
You know what that music means. So many fun fall events and celebrations to be out and about in the Triangle this weekend.
Yeah, let's take a look at WRAL's Out and About Best Bets for you. The NC Symphony getting in the Halloween spirit. Tomorrow, the band will be performing its Halloween Spooktacular. The concert will include spooky classics and silly characters. There will be 2 shows at the Maymandi Concert Hall in Raleigh at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Tickets are available online.
And in Holly Springs, the town is hosting its annual Holly Fest tomorrow. The family-friendly event is free to attend. It will feature local artists, businesses, and food vendors. There will also be entertainment and activities for the kids. That will be at Bass Lake Park from 10 until 4. The town of Morrisville is hosting its annual Diwali festival. Diwali is India's biggest and most important holiday of the year. Tomorrow's festival will include food booths and cultural performances and a fireworks show to end the night. It will be at Cedar Fork District Park from 5 to 8 p.m. For more weekend best bets, go to WRAL.com, search Out and About.
Lots going on this weekend, including the fair that's behind us. Gates open in just a little while, Elizabeth. And, it's the last chance for people to take advantage of it and some nice weather.
It is. I imagine that Sunday's probably going to be really, really crowded because everybody will have waited. I mean, the weather's been perfect really all week, except for last Sunday. The fair closed just a couple of hours early because of a front coming through. Other than that, I mean, it's just been glorious out there. Right now, 42 degrees. And yes, the doors, the gates open in just 40 minutes for Friday, the last Friday of the fair, and a cool weekend ahead. 68 today, 66 on Saturday, 65 on Sunday. Sunday will be a little cloudier, but I'll show you why I don't think that we'll see any rain before the fair is over on Sunday. If you're headed out to the Virginia game at UNC, notice that it's going to be fairly cool in the morning. If you're going to be out tailgating, temperatures will be in the 50s. We do climb into the mid-60s toward the end of the game in some sunshine. You should feel very comfortable, but it's not going to be 75, 80 degrees like we saw last weekend. Beautiful low pressure system developing back here to the west because we need it so much. It'll potentially become a coastal low, not associated with powerful hurricane Hurricane Melissa, which is what will happen over the weekend. Well, to our south, we're looking at a decent chance for some much needed rain. Here's a look at Futurecast. We'll start here at 3 o'clock on Saturday. We're dry today. We're dry tomorrow. We'll push the rain forward, and it starts to move into our area at around 2 a.m. on Monday. And so that gets us past the fireworks for the fair on Sunday night. It is likely to be wet for us on Monday morning. This is a brand new run of the computer model. It's a little bit slower, but I still think we'll probably have a good chance of rain during the morning commute. There's 5 o'clock. You can see the coastal low developing. That continues to bring rain for Tuesday as well as Wednesday, most likely too. So we definitely need this rain. We take a look at our forecast for rainfall, likely to be anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches total over those 3 days. Our forecast with that rainfall is for chilly temperatures. Our highs will only be in the upper 50s, Grant.
Yeah, still watching a crash. There's a serious crash at Pool Road at Cook Street. Thankfully not seeing as many delays as we saw earlier off of Pool Road, but you could see some delays because of this crash off Pool Road and South Raleigh Boulevard this morning. So keep that in mind for your commute, especially if you're headed towards downtown off Pool Road. You could have some delays there. Also been watching a crash that's going to be off of I-40 if you're heading westbound on the north side of Chapel Hill, headed towards Greensboro, headed westbound on I-40. You're going to see some delays there. Looks like my traffic thing is freezing up here. Here you go. You can see westbound. Looks like it's actually cleared up here recently, so not seeing as many delays westbound. Tune us in the radio, 115 HD3.
Shootout with police. A violent chain of events in Charlotte ends with the suspect shooting at officers. What we know about what led to this.
And getting the lights back on. Duke Energy looking at new ways to help with responses to power outages. The technology officials say has already helped hundreds of thousands of customers.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. A very chilly start to your Friday. You'll need the jacket as you head out the door. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with a look around town.
Plenty of sunshine, but low to mid 40s stepping out the door in Durham, Raleigh, and in Fayetteville. Of course, you can catch the Dorton Arena Ferris wheels. I love that shot, especially once the sun comes up. You can see it really well. Very dry, not as windy, but still high fire danger for today. So you want to avoid any outdoor burning. Heading out to walk the dog, and right now we're in the 40s, but we'll climb to around 63 at lunchtime. We'll see a high of 68 degrees. It's likely to be even colder for tomorrow morning with some patchy frost. Grant?
I want to show you the drive times heading into Raleigh this morning. I-40 west and eastbound, not seeing any major delays. Just a 2-minute delay headed eastbound on I-40 from I-85 this morning. From Wake Forest headed southbound on Highway 1, just a 3-minute delay. And headed south on 87, only a 1-minute delay from Knightdale, so that's good. No major delays on 87. We typically have some slowdowns headed southbound there, but not seeing any so far. East on I-40 from Chapel Hill, only a 2-minute delay. There was a little bit of a slowdown close to the accident from the westbound accident. I think from people possibly getting close to that accident there. But again, no major delays. Tune us on the radio, 115 HD3.
Thanks, Grant. Right now, crews are working to clean up after 2 businesses near Triangle Town Center had their windows shot out. This happened on Pointertown Parkway at about 11:30 last night. Nobody was hurt. No arrests have been made yet. And Wake County deputies have identified the suspect in a chase that briefly shut down the I-40 ramp yesterday at Lake Wheeler Road. The sheriff's office says Jaquan Page is facing multiple charges. Deputies say Page was speeding on I-40 near Gorman Street and did not pull over when deputies tried to stop him. Next on Fox 50, a high school football player recovering after going into cardiac arrest on the field last week.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at 8:30, shots fired. At least 2 businesses hit by gunfire near Triangle Town Center in Raleigh. What we've learned within the last 20 minutes.
And it's a beautiful start outside. Temperatures in the low 40s here in the Triangle. I'll show you why it could be noticeably colder tomorrow morning.
Friday Night Lights return. A high school football team back on the field tonight after their teammate went into cardiac arrest. How he's supporting his team while recovering from that terrifying moment last week. We have an encouraging update from his family. He is doing much, much better. Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30. We hope you're doing well on this Friday morning. We have a gorgeous start. Thanks for joining us. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Yeah, it really is beautiful, but it's chilly out there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Garner showing us the temperatures and what it feels like right now, Elizabeth.
We still have some 30s on the maps, 36 in Roxborough, but Roxborough, at least in the hourlies, dropped down to 34 earlier this morning. So likely there was some patchy frost, or maybe still is some up near the Virginia line. But once you hit Durham, Rocky Mount, and southward, temperatures have been warmer, mostly low to mid, even some upper 40s. We take a live look at Durham right now, and we're seeing bright skies, 42 degrees, and a dry dew point at 38. Because of the dry conditions, we still have increased fire danger for today, so you're encouraged not to do any outdoor burning. Temperatures this afternoon warm up nicely with sunshine. We'll climb up to around 68. It'll feel good at the fair, and we do stay dry through the fair, even though we're looking at some rain first thing on Monday morning. We'll check that out in just a little bit. This is just becoming more and more concerning to see this major hurricane so close to Jamaica and then potentially moving across Cuba. Big impacts in Haiti as well. The National Hurricane Center is calling this potentially catastrophic. We'll talk more about it coming up. Grant?
Yeah, I want to show you I-40 at Lake Wheeler Road. We were watching a crash here earlier, and it had some delays westbound on I-40, but now we're not seeing as many delays there. It looks like traffic's flowing a little bit smoother there this morning, so it's a good sign. Looks like it's probably been cleared up, and things should be smoother on I-40 headed westbound. That's at Lake Wheeler Road. Only a 3-minute delay from Wake Forest this morning headed south on Highway 1. Again, that accident looks like it has been cleared on I-40 headed westbound, so that's a good sign. And just some minor delays on I-40 so far this morning. A 1-minute delay east on I-40 from I-85 this morning if you're headed from Durham into Raleigh. And then through Durham this morning, only a 1-minute delay off 98 from NC50, a 1-minute delay off 501 headed southbound from Infinity Road this morning, and headed east and westbound off I-40 into Durham. No major delays. We are seeing some delays headed northbound on I-85 this morning, headed towards Durham. You can tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Thank you, Grant. Breaking news in the last 15 minutes. Crews arrived to board up windows at Raleigh businesses that were hit by gunfire overnight. This happened at about 11:30 last night along Pointer Village Parkway. Ali Calabar is there in the WRAL breaking news tracker. And Ali, you just got some new information from Raleigh police.
Police say that no arrests have been made yet and no one got hurt. They have confirmed that as of the past 15 minutes. Now, right now, crews are working to board up some of those windows. They've asked to be off camera, but you might hear some of that cleanup underway. We still have other windows, though, that are damaged still. So this is video from the WRAL breaking news tracker of all of that damage. You can see those shattered windows, bullet holes in the walls and inside and outside of the businesses. Spectrum even saying that a bullet hole damaged one of their Apple displays and also some of their couches. Raleigh police say that shots were fired around 11:30 last night. Again, no injuries were reported and no arrests have been made. We're working to find out who's responsible for this, as businesses have a big mess that they have to clean up this morning. We're also working to find out if these businesses will open as normal. Reporting live in Raleigh, Ali Calabar, WRAL News.
Breaking news. Within the last 20 minutes, we've learned that it was a mechanical issue that caused this Wayne County school bus to catch fire. A WRAL viewer sent us this video. Now, the bus was on Till Drive in Goldsboro around 3:15 in the afternoon when this happened. The bus was on its afternoon route, dropping off students from Grantham Elementary School. The bus driver successfully got all 21 children off the bus and no one was hurt. The fire was under control in less than 15 minutes. President Trump says he is ending all trade negotiations with Canada immediately. Trump accused Canada of trying to interfere with an upcoming Supreme Court case. That's about the legality of his reciprocal tariffs. He made the announcement on Truth Social after the Canadian province of Ontario began running a TV ad in the U.S. That ad featured former President Ronald Reagan criticizing tariffs. The Reagan Presidential Foundation says the ad misrepresents Reagan's speech and that his remarks were edited without permission.
This morning, we are hearing from Democratic Congressman Don Davis. It's the first time since state lawmakers redrew his district to improve the chance a Republican wins that seat. Davis has served the 1st congressional district since 2023. A new congressional map approved on Wednesday put him in District 3 and turned his former position into a GOP-leaning seat. You can see that new congressional map right here. It gives Republicans an advantage in 11 of the 14 congressional seats, up from 10. He would not confirm whether he'll run again or in which district, but he did call for an end to mid-decade redistricting.
So much confusion. It doesn't matter, Texas, California, Missouri, Kansas. We just need to pull together and support an end to this.
The redistricting was part of a national Republican effort to keep control of Congress in the midterm elections. We also reached out to Senator Phil Berger and Representative Destin Hall for statements. We are still waiting to hear back.
We should also mention there are people fighting against a new map. Bishop William Barber and his supporters, for example, say they will challenge it. Barber called the new map an attempt to silence black voters by dividing a strong black voting bloc in eastern North Carolina. Republican leaders insist they did not use racial data to draw this map. However, Barber argues they don't need data to do it because they know where voters are. The group has not yet filed a lawsuit, but says it likely will in the next 2 weeks.
Time is 8:36. Renee, I want to bring our viewers here to that highly anticipated consumer price index report that dropped within the past 5 minutes. You'll see how the U.S. futures are reacting as the S&P 500 has about a 45-point change. Dow Jones up 235. Let me look at my notes here. So essentially, gasoline actually went up. It rose 4.1%. And again, this is for September's CPI report. The index for energy rose 1.5% over the month. And the indices that follow for motor vehicle insurance and cars and trucks, used cars specifically, those were actually among the few indices that were decreased in September. So the prices went down in some regard there. Now, obviously, we saw that report not too long ago about mortgage rates hitting that 6%, which is favorable for some people who have seen higher rates. But right now, again, it looks like the U.S. futures overnight looking good. We'll look at the opening bell, though, to see how people are reacting. And that's at 9:30 on WRAL News on Fox 50.
Thanks, Chris. Today, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners will address the government shutdown and its local effects. Board members and local municipal leaders will have an emergency special meeting to discuss this. Today's meeting starts at 11 a.m. It'll be in room 564 of the Cumberland County Courthouse in Fayetteville.
Happening today, Cleveland High School is playing its first football game tonight since one of its players collapsed on the field. Last week, wide receiver Christian Clark went into cardiac arrest after making a catch. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is live at Cleveland High School this morning. And Kelsey, we understand Christian is doing much better, that he's already been back in school.
Yes, Renee, some good news on a Friday. Cleveland High School football players will be back here in the stadium tonight after that scary moment last week. We got an update from Christian Clark's family. They say he was able to return to the classroom yesterday and support his teammates on the sideline during practice last night. We'll show you some video now from that game last week against Southeast Raleigh when Christian went into cardiac arrest on the field. Coaches and trainers leaped into action performing CPR. His parents left the stands and rushed to the field. Christian's father, Chris, performed chest compressions. They were eventually able to use a defibrillator to restore his son's heartbeat.
I've done the CPR and the AED training, probably 6 or 7 times now, not thinking that one day I may have to use this on my own kid.
Wow. Chris says Christian did have a cardiac MRI yesterday. And coming up tonight on WRAL, our health reporter Grace Haba speaks with the doctor to explain how hard hits can cause heart attacks that are most common in kids. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Johnston County.
We'll keep you informed on the newest information about Christian's recovery after what happened there on the field. You can catch that in our evening newscast starting at 4 p.m.
Breaking news, law enforcement in California opened fire overnight on a U-Haul truck that appeared to be trying to back into a Coast Guard base. You can hear all the gunfire there. This happened at about 1 a.m. our time as the truck was backing toward a barricade at the Alameda Coast Guard base in Oakland. It happened during a protest against ICE at the base. The Coast Guard and the Oakland Police Department have not commented on what happened. It is unclear whether the shots were bullets or non-lethal rounds. Local media report that 2 men were hurt.
The Fall Classic gets started tonight. The LA Dodgers are looking to repeat as World Series champions. To get there, they'll have to get through the Toronto Blue Jays. Game 1 is in Toronto tonight. First pitch is at 8. You can watch it all here on Fox 50.
Time now is 8:40. Toxic water worries. The fight over chemical contamination in North Carolina's rivers could affect your drinking water. What's at stake for more than 1 million people?
And faster response times. That's the goal for Duke Energy's latest project. The approach the company is taking to service customers quicker than before.
It is time to bundle up this morning. You are taking a live look over Franklinton as our area under the first frost advisory of the season. Just ahead, meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner explains how it could get even colder this weekend.
.44, lots of sunshine, but still cool out there as you're heading out the door. Wilson at 43, 42 in Durham, and 46 degrees in Fayetteville. It'll be a little breezy, but not as windy as yesterday. Still, we're so dry that you're encouraged to put off outdoor burning again, most likely all the way through the weekend, really, because we won't see any rain until early next week. My yard's getting a little on the dry side, but if you have any yard work that you need to get done today, this afternoon, not feeling bad. Upper 60s for highs. Temperatures this evening drop down into the low 60s. We should have a really nice weekend, but some rain in our forecast for early Monday. I'll walk you through the timeline coming up. Grant?
Yeah, we're still seeing some delays on I-40 west and eastbound just north of Chapel Hill this morning. There was a report of a crash there where the shoulder was blocked up on the westbound lanes this morning, but not seeing a report of a crash there now, just some slowdowns west and eastbound, close to Highway 86. Just north of Chapel Hill this morning. So not as many delays as we saw earlier, but still at least some minor delays in that general area. We've been watching our traffic cameras in the general vicinity, no major delays. You can see from I-87 this morning from Knightdale, only some very little delays this morning, and 3-minute delay from Wake Forest. Tune us in the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Grant, thank you. New regulatory changes to help businesses affected by Helene are now law. Governor Josh Stein signed the measure, approved by lawmakers this week. The law provides funding for several law enforcement initiatives. It adjusts rules for small business loans and local government grants tied to disaster recovery. Lawmakers approved several smaller funding bills as the legislature is at an impasse over a broader state budget. The fiscal year started July 1st. Lawmakers adjourned yesterday for the rest of the year.
Federal regulators are deciding whether to step in after a heated public hearing over toxic chemicals from Asheboro's wastewater plant. The pollution travels downstream through the Cape Fear River Basin, and that's the drinking water source for more than 1 million North Carolinians. The EPA held a hearing on Wednesday night to get public input on how North Carolina should handle 1,4-dioxane. That it's a toxic chemical linked to cancer that's been found in Asheboro's wastewater. State testing found levels more than 10,000 times higher than what the EPA considers a cancer risk.
They can make their own industries treat for the chemical before it ever gets to their sewage or wastewater treatment plants. And that way it never ends up at this wastewater utility in the first place. All they need to use is their regulatory authority to, clamp down on their industries. And somebody is paying for this pollution. If it's not these industries, the people who are going to be paying for this pollution are the people living downstream.
The EPA could force the state to reinstate strict limits or take over the permitting process itself. Public comments are open through October 31st. You can find out how to weigh in at WRAL.com.
Duke Energy is broadening its strategy to get the power back on when it goes out. The company held a site visit for its energy grid improvement project at a substation in Raleigh. Duke Energy is in the middle of a 2-year effort that includes more than 1,000 grid improvement projects across the state. The goal is to improve reliability for customers while keeping up with growth. Stranger Things 5 hitting the big screen.
Yeah, and shoes that sound like they are from Back to the Future. Let's take a look at what's trending this morning. Well, the countdown is on for the release of the final season of Stranger Things, and the big finale is getting the movie theater treatment. Netflix confirms there will be a limited 2-day run for the final send-off. The final hits theaters and drops on Netflix on December 31st. I am so excited for this. I wonder.
You've been a dedicated fan
of
this.
I love Stranger Things,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm wondering how fast those tickets are going to go for the 2-day movie release.
But what a great idea to kind of cap it all off in the movie theater, and you get to share that with other fans.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, check this out. This is awesome. Nike is testing out a motor-powered robotic shoe. So the shoe is designed to help people go faster and walk farther with less effort. Of course, this is not designed for like the elite athletes. Rather, they say this is for everyday people, like your regular runners, your recreational runners, and your joggers. It's still undergoing testing, and it's unclear when it will hit shelves.
My goodness. That's a little futuristic for me, I think. But
the future is here, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. You look bionic when you're putting on those things.
Very cool. All right, no tricks, just treats. The Wake County Animal Center waiving adoption fees so every pet can find their new home. Now through November 9th, all adoption fees will be waived as part of the Spooky Season Sweet Snuggles campaign. The shelter currently has 169 dogs and cats available for adoption, along with 91 pets recovering foster care. The adoptable pets can be viewed at pets.wake.gov.
Looking ahead, mark your calendars now. December 3rd is going to be a great day. Reba McEntire will host Christmas at Rockefeller Center, and it will air on WRAL. Before that gets started, we'll continue our decades-long tradition here. We will light our WRAL TV tower during a 7 p.m. special.
A restaurant staple in Fuquay Arena is closing. Abbey Road will be closing after 7 years in business. They announced the news on Facebook. The owners posted that after a long time in business, it was time to take a break. They hinted another restaurant will move into that space, but details have not been released yet. Well, the risk of brush fires is a concern because of dry conditions we've been seeing. We've learned there was one in Holly Springs. Sky 5 was above that scene last night. As our chopper approached, you can see the smoke off GB Alford Highway and West Holly Springs Road. Firefighters were able to get that fire out in about 30 minutes. Investigators say the fire appears to be accidental, but they did not say how that fire happened.
And it's been quite some time since we've seen any rain, and because of those dry conditions, we have fire danger once again, Elizabeth.
We do. The breezy conditions, the the dry conditions do lead us to more fire danger. So you want to avoid any outdoor burning again today. We're also looking at colder temperatures for tonight. We'll likely drop down into the low to mid 30s. We could see some patchy frost out there for tonight. And then next week, we're going to end up with some much needed rain. We really need those scattered showers. And it looks like we'll have a decent chance of seeing those. Increased fire danger for today. So again, you don't want to do any outdoor burning. It won't be as windy as it was yesterday, but we're definitely looking at that potential to see a few fires popping up. This is a new product that we have in our computer system, potential fires and smoke. So all these red dots are potential fires. And what's happening here is the satellite is looking at this and able to detect heat, and it's picking out these hot spots. Well, not all of them are necessarily fires. What we do is then add smoke to it. And so we are detecting the smoke coming from a couple of these. None of these fires that look like they're actually happening are in our viewing area, but just to the west of us in the Sandhills. So we could have more of those develop, though, this afternoon. So again, do your part and try not to burn anything if you don't have to. Mid-30s in Roxborough right now. Elsewhere, temperatures are in the low to mid-40s. We're looking at 39 in Chapel Hill, 42 Raleigh, 45 Garner, 44 in Holly Springs. We just ended up being a little warmer overnight than we were yesterday, but tonight it's likely to be much colder. We're going to see overnight lows in the Triangle, easily in the mid to upper 30s, and maybe even colder than that near the Virginia line. Our normal low is 47, but this is about the time when we tend to see our first average freeze. So 33 tonight in Roxborough and Clarksville, 35 in Lewisburg and in Wilson, 33 in Siler City, 33 in Sanford, 39 in Fayetteville. So more widespread 30s for us for tomorrow morning. Beautiful blue skies here at the fairgrounds, and our temperatures currently heading out the door are in the low 40s, and we'll see much cooler temperatures Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, highs in the 50s with a good chance for rain.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Before we go to break, here are your winning lottery numbers. We'll get another check on weather and traffic next.